This Plusable Talks episode is made possible by Cherry Media, Eiffel, Dreamplay Media, Paco Luca, Moda Media.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another Plusable Talks episode. My name is 𝐏𝐋𝐔𝐒, and I'm going to be talking to a great friend of the community, Michael Silva. He used to be a detective, a great protector of the East Ward in Newark, and now the Councilman of the East Ward, Michael Silva. Michael, thank you so much, and welcome to Plusable Talks.
Good morning, Carlos. How's it going? Another beautiful day in the city of Newark. Looking forward to this interview and conversation. You and I go back a long way, so we always have gotten along, and we've always respected one another. So I'm just looking forward to getting this information out to your viewers and your followers.
Of course, and I thank you so much, and I'm pretty sure that our viewers are also very happy to have you here in a different setup. Now with the whole social media, we could also communicate through different mediums, and that's the goal here with this podcast. The goal of Plusable Talks is to share inspirational stories such as yours. 4 months. If you were to go back, how has this experience been? How's this office been treating you?
So July 1st was my first day, like you said, 4 months ago. It's been a little overwhelming. Whoever said this was a part-time job is lying. It's a 7-day-a-week job. You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because you love your community. You love helping people. It's something that I did, like you had mentioned. I was in Newark Police for 28 years. The last 18 as the community service detective. And I just have a strong bond and a love for this community. You know, my family's been here 80 years. We could have moved out numerous times, my parents. We never did because my parents always loved this community. And I'm here to just work hard for the people that put me here.
Mm-hmm. And you're of Portuguese descent, so you're from Murtosa, right?
Correct. My parents came here in 1946, almost 80 years ago. My grandparents were here already. We lived on Elm Street, we still own that home. Although my mother and father are not here anymore, they've passed away. We continue to carry their legacy, and we continue to do the things that they preached, to always help whenever you had the chance to, if you ever an opportunity to help anybody, to do so. And that's what I'm trying to do now.
You touched a topic that is very interesting. For 80 years or over 80 years, your family's been here and they stayed here, versus some people that come to Newark and it's almost like they feel very proud when they say, no, we no longer live in Newark. But then again, Newark was the city that gave you an opportunity for the American dream, and I don't really feel that people show that appreciation to Newark as Newark should receive it by a lot of these folks.
So once again, we go back to the social media part of it. Whenever something negative happens here in our city, in the East Ward, people post right away that they're glad they don't live here anymore. At the end of the day, this is where most people started. I don't care where you live now, in a nice big fancy house in the suburbs. Your parents probably started out here in the Ironbound section, your grandparents, and they built a comfortable life for themselves and for you, and probably made your life what it is today, made it better, and allowed you to go live somewhere else. But at the end of the day, this is still the heart and soul of the city of Newark. It is the jewel, no doubt about it, of the city of Newark. We have things here that a lot of other cities in the state of New Jersey don't have. We have an amazing airport. We have an amazing seaport. We have a major transportation hub in Newark Penn Station. And this city is going to grow, and I'm going to make it grow because I fought for development as long as it was smart development. And I want to see this city and the East Ward bring back pride. I think pride kind of got lost in the last few years prior to me being here, and I want to bring that sense of pride back to this community.
And why do you think that is, that people lost pride?
Again, I believe that the person that was sitting in my seat had something to do with it. And And when the leader loses pride, or the leader doesn't show the effort to better the community, I think that kind of reflects on the community itself. So it's like a CEO of a company. If the CEO of a company doesn't show incentive, doesn't work hard, doesn't show up to work,
Doesn't set the tone.
doesn't set the tone for its employees, and the employees start looking at the top and seeing that the top employee, the CEO, which in my case is the councilman, doesn't show the pride and the emotion he should show, and the work ethic that he should show, it kind of reflects on the community. So I'm here to change that. If you follow me on my Councilman Michael Silva page, I'm everywhere. Last night I was at meetings till 8:30, almost 9 o'clock at night. I had dinner almost at 10 o'clock at night, and that seems to be a routine for me. I leave my house early in the morning. For those of you who follow me, you'll know that I start my day every morning by going to Mass, like I did this morning. I went to 8:30 a.m. Mass, and then I start my day, and it doesn't end till 9, 10 o'clock at night most nights. But if that's what it takes, that's what I'm going to do, because, like I said, I'm going to bring the pride back into this community.
Definitely not a part-time, as you said. And it's funny because recently I was talking to someone, and your name came about. They're like, Mike Silva definitely hit the ground running. He's doesn't stop. He's everywhere. Like he's great. And what inspired you to run?
So, we had mentioned before, my career in law enforcement, 28 years. The last 18 years as a community service detective here in the East Ward. What I did in that position was, anytime the community had a complaint or a concern, I addressed it. It could have been a traffic light, it could have been garbage on the corner, it could have been a pothole. The relationships that I had built with members of the city, sanitation and traffic and signals and other departments, whenever I called them, they would get it done for me. And so that kind of routine led me to the position today. I knew the issues, I knew the concerns, I knew what the community was asking for, I knew what the East Ward needed, and that's what kind of had people believing that I could do this job. And I believe that I could do it. I have the passion for it. My heart is in it. My staff yells at me a lot of times because I take all phone calls instead of delegating it to them. I like to handle things myself, but that's the routine that I had built for 18 years. I handle things myself, and I'll continue to do that. As long as I have an open door policy, anybody who calls me, anybody who calls me on my cell phone or sends me a text message, I'll respond. Maybe not right away because I'm a little bit busier now, but I'll always respond so that person knows that I'm giving them the interaction one-on-one and they're just not talking to somebody else. So it's important that the community understands, and the first thing I want them to understand is that this is not a job for one person. If I don't get help from the people and the members of the community to help me, we will not succeed. One thing I said during my campaign is we have to be unified. We have to be united. Again, this job, I can tell you in 120 days, is not a job for one person. If we don't get the community's help, they have to call me, they have to call my office, they have to let us know when there's an issue, when there's a complaint, when there's a concern, and then we will take care of that. But at the end of the day, we need to work together to make this a better community.
Although you're obviously of Portuguese descent, you don't represent Portuguese people only. You represent the East Ward, and there's other communities. But talking about the Portuguese community in particular, based on what I've seen and what I see, and that I've worked as a journalist for many years, I don't really see that we have that much of a collective conscience in terms of participating actively. It's as if we've been here for a while, we have properties, we invested in businesses, we brought a lot of money to this, so that's it. And the expectations, it's not only that, because if you have a lot of properties and that's all you do, then you're good to pay taxes and that's it. How do you think that specifically with the Portuguese community, what would you like to see changing for the Portuguese to eventually, come together, be more proactive in terms of partnering up with you. What do you think that would have to change, and what would be your piece of advice in that sense?
So that's been the history of the Portuguese, right? They hardworking people. They go to work every day, come home. They have their home, and they, like my mother and father, keep it clean, keep the sidewalks clean, and just mind their own business. Don't care as long as it doesn't affect them. That's their philosophy and stuff like that. I lived in a home like that. My parents would go to work every day. Both my mother and father would go to work every day, come home, make sure the property's cleaned, and went back the next morning. That seems to be the Portuguese way of doing things. And I think that, like I mentioned before, I think the community in the last few 10 to 20 years has kind of lost its way because they didn't see anything done as well, right? They had someone there that didn't show the leadership that he should have. And what I'm here hoping to do was, and I explained to you, I was on the Portuguese channel once a month, every last Friday, to make sure that I went out and spoke to the Portuguese community. So one of the things that I ran into when I was running for councilman was I'd go to doors and I'd know it was a Portuguese person, and most of the times the Portuguese would say, "Michael, we never know what's going on. We don't know what's going on with our community. We don't know the issues. We don't know the concerns. If we have an issue or a concern, we don't know who to contact." There seems to be a disconnect. So one of my main points was to make sure that those Portuguese people, once a month or more often through social media, would understand and know what's going on. I wanted to make this I'm transparent as possible, whether it's good, whether it's bad, they're going to get the information. So whenever I put out a notification, it's always in English, Portuguese, and Spanish, because of the diversity, again, of this community. And so one of the things about the Portuguese is, like I said, I think that most mind their own business. They just concerned about their property as long as other things don't affect them. But they still have that pride, right? They still want a clean street. They still want a clean sidewalk. They still want the services that they deserve, the sanitation, the street cleaning, and all that stuff. So it's just showing them that there's someone now here that cares and that is fighting for them every day.
Mm-hmm. What's the best way to get in touch with your office? And yes, I'm a witness to when you say that your phone is always available.
Yep.
I feel that personally. I thank you very much for that. But if people that would like to connect with you, you're on Adams Street.
Correct.
Now,
so
with
that's
Oliver.
that's my little city hall.
Mm-hmm.
You can walk in there anytime, Monday through Friday. The hours are 9 a.m. to 4:30, and now we're open on Saturdays as well from 9 to 12 for those people that can't get in during the week, are busy or are working, and come home after 4:30. We're open on Saturdays from 9 to 12. Then my office in City Hall, the telephone number, it's room 304, third floor. The telephone number is 973-733-3665. Someone's there from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. So those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
Mm-hmm. In terms of connecting with the community and engaging the Portuguese community, do you believe, and we recently had an event organized by the City Hall, Fashion Forward, at Sport Clube Português, that celebrated this year 101 years serving, or in the heart of the Ironbound. Do you think that the clubs can, or these Portuguese community centers can play a role connecting the community more? And if so, how, and what would you like to see happening, and how do you see that dynamic happening?
One of the things we're working on is Portugal Day. Right, the last few years, Portugal Day has kind of been lost. It's only been in one area. It's only been in one section of the city. I remember as a kid who grew up here going to Portugal Day, and there was 500,000 people coming to the city. So the city prospered. The East Ward prospered. So what we're trying to do now, I put a committee together, and we're trying to grow Portugal Day, make it a little bigger. Not what it was, but to bring back the pride. Again, I use that word a lot because it's important that the Portuguese who made this community feel that sense of pride and want to come back. So I'm working with a commission now, the committee that I put together, and we're making the Portuguese feast a little bigger. And what is one of the big incentives of the Portuguese feast is we're bringing in all 18 Portuguese social clubs. They're coming into the feast. They're actually getting a place within Ferry Street where they'll be able to put up a stand representing their club, making food from their part of Portugal. And we're bringing that united club thing together. The Portuguese club, sport club, everybody's going to participate in that Portugal Day event. Again, the feast has been lost over the last few years. The blame, again, I don't want to put that on anybody, but it's July 1st was a new day. And one of the things that I promised during my campaign is to bring back a Portugal Day and the pride that was once in this community.
And are the clubs reacting to that?
All positive. Approach? They were all happy. I met with them all. I met with all the presidents and vice presidents of all the clubs. They were all excited to hear that I was bringing back the Portugal Day feast to make it bigger, to welcome more people, because I think that we don't get the people that normally we would, because the feast is condensed to one area, which is near that parking lot over there by Solmar. That's where the Portugal Day feast has been the last few years. And so we're going to grow it a little bit down Ferry Street. And with the helps of the clubs, we're going to promote it, and we're going to make it something bigger, something, again, that we're proud of.
And we can expect Ferry Street closed?
Ferry Street closed up to a certain point.
But how many days?
The weekend, like Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, Saturday and Sunday, like it used to be. Ferry Street, when I was a kid, was closed from Penn Station all the way down to Magazine Street.
Right.
So that's how big it was. We're not going to make it that big, but it's going to grow gradually year after year. We feel that if we put a good product this June up, that more people will come, and we could grow it little by little. And again, to make it a great place, a weekend, just something like we did for that Taste of Newark that we did together, and you were playing at Adega, and we just want the Ironbound to grow. We wanted a place where people want to come and sit down and have a meal, or just come and hang out and not go to Jersey City or Hoboken or Weehawken or Edgewater. They want to stay in the Ironbound. They want to come in the Ironbound, and that's my goal. I might not make everybody happy by doing that, but at the end of the day, I promised that I would make the Ironbound a better place and a destination location.
So you're foreseeing the Solmar parking lot? Are any other locations of Portugal Day, or still too early to talk?
It's still early.
Okay.
It's still early to talk. We're having a meeting we're having a meeting this week with the mayor to discuss Portugal Day, because at the end of the day, it's the mayor that is the boss of the city, and I have a great relationship with him, and he's been very, very receptive to anything I've wanted to do. He wants the city to grow. He wants the East Ward to grow. He wants the Ironbound to grow. And at the end of the day, I believe he'll be for it. I don't see anything that would change his mind. He's always told me, Councilman, I want the East Ward to grow. I want to do things to bring people into this community, and so I don't foresee any problems. I think that you're going to see a bigger, better Portugal Day than you've seen in the last few years.
Now, and the mayor loves the East Ward.
Yep.
He
Yes,
knows
he does.
where he can get some good food.
Yep. He knows where to come get a good meal.
And it's true, Councilman. We are so privileged. There's no big city it's perfect, but in terms of food, I really don't know those many cities in the States that could offer such a variety and many good restaurants. It's not only one Portuguese restaurant that is good. It's not only one Brazilian restaurant that is good. It's not only one Spanish restaurant. You have several.
Yep.
Of those several ethnicities represented here. It's amazing.
So the Ironbound has always been a destination location for people to come and eat. No matter how far you go away from here, you could be at the end of the state line, say in Cape May or something, and have a conversation, and somebody's been to the Ironbound to have a meal. They love the Portuguese food. But like you said, it's not only Portuguese. We have now many different ethnic restaurants, stuff like that. We actually have an Italian restaurant that's going to be opening up soon on the corner of Merchant and Ferry, where
the same owners
Santos,
of
Sihana. Yep, where Santos Flores used to be. So we're going to have Italian food as well, something that I welcome to the community. It'll give us a different taste for the Portuguese who eat Portuguese all the time, like you and I, we eat Portuguese all the time. The Italian food will give us a different look at culinary in that aspect. Yeah, diversity. So listen, one of the things about that I said, again, during my campaign, I said a lot of things. The Ironbound needs to grow. So I welcome businesses. I welcome development as long as it's smart development. I'll support anything that comes into the city as long as it's good for the community. It has my support, and at the end of the day, I'm held responsible and held accountable. So I want to make sure before I sign off on anything that it's good for the community. And at the end of the day, it has to be good for everybody in the community.
Newark and this area is very attractive for investors. You see that these residents and these residential buildings are booming. You as a councilman, what would you say, or what type of incentive would you give to these investors? Invest in the Ironbound because fill in the blank.
Well, invest in the Ironbound because it's the jewel of the city, right? The Ironbound is, no doubt about it, the jewel of the city. Not only do we have, like we were speaking, great restaurants, great place to eat, we have great shopping, we have several food markets. We have a Whole Foods downtown, which is 10 minutes away. We have safety. Okay, we're not where we should be, but by far we're still the safest part of the city. At the end of the day, it's my job to make sure that the precinct on Market Street, where I ended my 18 years, the captain and I, 𝐓𝐊𝐿, have a very good relationship. So public safety is always number one. It's important that when I promote the Ironbound, that I promote the fact that it's a safe place. So I want to make sure that the captain and I work together to bring the police officers, the amount of police officers that we need to make this community safe. Our community is constantly growing. Developers have an incentive here. Like I mentioned before, we have an airport that's, at the end of the day, in the next 10, 15 years, will be one of the top 4 or 5 airports in the country. We have an amazing train station that's going to get refaced right now, $200 million that the state gave us to reface the entire Penn Station, to beautify it. And we have a seaport where on the East Coast, we're one of the biggest seaports in the country. So those 3 things, plus the proximity to 20 minutes to Manhattan, to other locations, makes this a destination location. It's up to me to make sure that I get the word out to let people know, because I think when people think of Newark, they think of violence and violent crime. Unfortunately, we had an incident with 2 police officers. Thank God they're okay. They're home with their families. It could have turned out a lot worse, but we need to change that perception around, right? We need to let people know that Newark, yes, we have our issues, but at the end of the day, it's a great place to live.
True. And even when you were a detective, you were always a big part of your role was being a community relations, right? You were somewhat the face, or one of the faces of the Newark Police to the East Ward, and you did a great job doing so. One of the campaigns that you were involved, or that you were you were front row at least, had to do with cleaning the river, because and back in the day, people talk about a project of architects or engineers or urban planners that go to some Portuguese cities that have rivers, right? Like Porto, Lisboa, Coimbra, they have rivers, and they all developed those that area by the river, and they wanted to bring something similar to Newark because Passaic River goes to the ocean, so like maybe building a marina. Where is that topic? Where is that conversation? I understand it's very expensive to clean the river, but could we even think? Is that something that it's in the works?
Yeah. So right now we're working on the waterfront. It's actually bid in pieces. We did the entire most of the Raymond Boulevard part, just a little past Jackson Street Bridge, and it ended there. So that piece is now out to bid. We're going to connect the waterfront, so you're going to be able to go from Raymond Boulevard down by Chapel Street all the way past NJ Pack. You're going to be able to walk, run, jog, all the way down to Lit 21 where the bridge is on McCarter Highway. So it's a connection that's going to be there. The problem is that everything was bid in pieces. So some sections are done, some sections aren't, but eventually they'll all connect together. Cleaning the water is another issue. I believe that the city or the state has a contract with the Army Corps of Engineers to clean the riverfront. We've already started tours that you can catch right there by Jackson, just before Jackson Street, with the orange. There's these orange poles along the water there, and there's a little pier where you can get on a tour and go to Manhattan. You can go to Statue of Liberty to there. So they're doing tours of. There's a calendar there. If you go to the Riverfront Park website. It'll tell you, because that's what it's called, Riverfront Park. It'll tell you when the tours are. I believe they stop now due to the winter, but in the summer there are tours that go out there. The river is a very important part. Harrison is also doing its part by building the waterfront. So it's going to take some time, but we hope to make like a boat pier eventually down the road there. It's a great location. I've walked that park many times when I was in the police department, and seen the time and effort that it takes to keep that park clean. And at the end of the day, I think it's something that the community needs. We need more green space, and that's a big integral part of development in the future for the city.
Mm-hmm. And bring that glamour
Yep.
to Newark. You were saying and comparing this phenomena with a little bit of Hoboken, Jersey City, maybe even Brooklyn. I guess Newark has that potential to become the next Jersey City, the next hip big thing. Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, of course. I was actually supposed to have lunch with the mayor of Jersey City, Stephen Fulop, because I wanted to pick his brain on certain things that I want to promote here.
Mayor.
Yeah, that I want to promote here, because he's done a great job in Jersey City, right, in attracting people to come live there. They have the highest rents in the United States at $5,000 an apartment, which is crazy, but it goes to show you that people will live there when given the amenities that they're getting. So one of the things that I wanted to do was there was a conflict of our schedule, but again, I want to make Newark a location where people come and have a good time. So what happens today is that a lot of time our residents leave the Ironbound to go to another town like Jersey City, like I was saying, Hoboken, because we don't do the things that they do here. The Taste of Newark, Restaurant Week we can do. We can do numerous things here to attract people to come from Jersey City here, to attract people from Hoboken to come here, not us go there. So the last few years, COVID has hurt a lot of our businesses, and I want to make sure that as councilman, I bring back that pride again, where people want to spend time and want to come into our community. The Taste of Newark, was a tremendous success. 3 Sundays in the summer, August 21st, September 4th, and September 18th. It was packed. We have people from all over the state of New Jersey come. So I think it's something that we can most definitely look forward to. In the springtime, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in the summer and possibly try some new things. So we'll see. I'm going to leave it at that, because I want people to be surprised and I want people to feel the excitement.
Mm-hmm. Well, that topic of closing Ferry Street down to the traffic was been in the agenda for quite a while, but never really went anywhere. Glad to see that you led that campaign, and it was pretty successful. Although it's funny, because I remember I posted that I guess I was gonna play there, and I was promoting it so people would be aware of it. And this younger Portuguese person, I don't know why, I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. And why people would criticize it? What's there not to be a good idea? It's very family driven.
Yep.
You attract a lot of people to that area. It's not hard to convince people to walk on Ferry Street, which is a very iconic artery of this city. It was a success.
Yeah. One of the things I've learned about this job in 120 something days, you can't make everybody happy.
Right.
But if you make most people happy, and you put your head on your pillow every night knowing you did your best, that's all you can ask. Mm-hmm. I realize that you're not going to make everybody happy, but I'm going to do what's best for the city. I'm going to do what's best for the community, best for the business owners, best for the residents. And if one or two disagree, I apologize. I wish they had come out and seen what we had done and see the families that were out there and see the excitement in the air. I wish they had come out instead of stayed home. It's important that we all come together. Again, unified are big words in my vocabulary, and this community needs to come together. Mm-hmm. We need to work together to make this a better place. And I think by showcasing the East Ward, whatever it may be, I'm doing that, and I'm going to continue to do that.
And it was funny because not only it was it was a success, and Adega was pretty packed. It was also a way to unify this ward with others, because you had other colleagues of yours. West Ward Councilman 𝐓𝐿𝐼 was there. Aníbal Ramos from the North Ward was there. So
Councilman Quintana, they all came. Councilman, Pat Council, they all came.
So it's promoting local talent.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's important to have the support of my fellow council members, right? Because we have to support each other. I believe that all of them know the Ironbound well. It's like you said, when they want to come get a good meal, they know where to come. But there's more than just restaurants, right? We have to get all the other businesses on board and make sure that they participate. It was our first test run, again, something that was never done. It went well for those 3 days. The weather was amazing as well. Cooperated, which is big. And we saw happy faces, smiling faces. Business owners are happy. Residents were happy. And even out-of-towners that I spoke to a couple that was at Mapu sitting outside, and I introduced myself, and they came from Mountainside, New Jersey. And I said to them, I says, how do you like this? How do you like sitting in the middle of the street, having something to eat? And they're like, Councilman, we love it. We're going to come back. We're going to tell our friends, when's your next date? And so it shows that that we're doing something right. It shows that we're doing something right. It shows that people are listening and people are coming back to the Ironbound. And I think that it's my job to make sure that the word gets out that the Ironbound is open for business.
Mm-hmm. This was under a specific theme called the Taste of Newark. Do you foresee that Ferry Street could eventually be closed more on a permanent basis, like through in between those gaps of hours, or no? It would
always have to be on a Sunday due to the traffic. Mm-hmm. Ferry Street's a big shopping day on Saturday. It's a big restaurant day on Friday nights and stuff like that. So I think the only feasible day, honestly, where you can inconvenience the people the least and the side streets could always remain open for people is on a Sunday. And we could do different things. We could do street fairs. We can invite lunch trucks to come. Create some type of just a location where people can have a variety of things, right? If they don't want to eat at a Adega, they don't want to eat a Mapu, they'd rather eat a taco from a lunch truck or whatever, to create some type of environment. For sure, next year, I didn't have time to plan it this year. So many things going on. I will definitely have a fall food truck festival. I'm even thinking about having a spring food truck festival along the waterfront where people can eat something and sit along the water, bring a blanket, whatever, and enjoy the thing. But new things are going to happen. You have a new, younger person in charge with new ideas, fresh ideas, who's willing to listen to anything anybody has to say with new ideas and fresh ideas. And that's what I want to bring. I want to bring new excitement to the Ironbound.
I know that you were saying, and you're actually doing it already, and we never saw that. And from the musician's point of view, everybody was really, really grateful. It was a great opportunity for different ethnicities as well to showcase their talent, because Adega's business, Portuguese business, it's a Portuguese business owned, but the talent and the musicians that were there, they weren't only Portuguese. Right. I guess I was the only one.
Yeah.
So in this case, but you were also telling me that you can't really please everybody, and there were other restaurants that felt a little bit left out that are not on Ferry Street. Have you thought maybe having, for instance, other restaurants that are Portuguese or any others that are in in Newark or the East Ward, to have some sort of a stand and also make it available for them to participate in that, closing the Ferry Street?
Yeah, so like I said, this was the first time that had ever been done. So we just tried to focus on Ferry Street, right? That's the main street that goes through the heart of the Ironbound. But like Portugal Day, we're inviting all the restaurants to come onto Ferry Street to participate in our Portugal Day event. And next time I do the Taste of Newark, those restaurants will have an opportunity to come as well to take up space on Ferry Street and create a real taste of Newark. Because there's a lot of great restaurants that we don't talk about. We just talk about the main ones, which are on the main hubs. The Adegas, the Mapus, the Somars, they're all on Ferry Street, yes. But there's a lot of great restaurants that are on the side streets, on the inner streets, and they will be invited to the spring Taste of Newark. It's coming. I'm just letting everybody know that it's coming. I realize I can't make everybody happy, but at the end of the day, I'm going to make this a better place for all of us, a better destination place for all of us, and a place that we can, again, be proud of.
You might not make everybody happy, but at least you're making many people happy. So good for you.
Yep.
You grew up here, and your youth you spent it in this Jersey Shore and also Murtosa. You also, we're doing this interview in English, but you also speak good Portuguese, and good for you. So we could have done it in Portuguese, but I just want this to be more accessible for the community at large and not make it so much. So for that, we already have the Portuguese TV stations and newspapers. How do you think? How was Newark back then? And you speak in a very sweet, with a very sweet tone, based on your good parents' example. Your father worked in the local union for 20 years. Your mom in the factory. How did your youth inspire you, and growing up in the Ironbound, and how it inspired for you to become the man that you are today, like very passionate.
So Newark, as we know, is a melting pot. When I was growing up, obviously the Portuguese were the dominant community, and my parents being from Murtosa, it was dominated by Murtoseiros. Everywhere, every other door on your block was somebody from Murtosa. And then you had people from like places like 𝐏𝐋𝐿𝐒 and 𝐓𝐀𝐿𝐒 and those areas, Aveiro, which is part of the area of Murtosa, but basically it was Murtoseiros. And then you had your Italians, your Polish, your Germans, still in the community, a strong number of them too. But the Portuguese were the dominant when I was growing up in the 70s. But you mentioned Murtosa. I've been going there since I was 2 years old. So for over 50 years, I've been going to Murtosa. I go every year now with my son, where I teach him.
Does he like going back?
He loves going back. He loves Murtosa. He don't want to come back. We spend all our time on the beach, and it's important to show him where we came from, right? You know where you're at, but it's important to show him where the family tree originated from, and to be proud of being Portuguese. That's what my parents always taught me. We spoke Portuguese at home, but a lot of English in between, because my mother was an inspector for AT&T, Western Electric, for 31 years, and my father was in the labor's union for 20 plus years, and so we spoke a lot of English at home, but the Portuguese was always mixed in there. My grandmother, who lived downstairs, only spoke to us in Portuguese, and that's how we were raised. But the pride of being Portuguese was always very important to my mother and father. They instilled that in my brother and I. They worked hard to give us the best education. I went to a Catholic grammar school. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, and then on to college. And my parents instilled that the things I ran on, family, faith, hard work, were important. And to always, like I mentioned before, to always give back if given the opportunity. I can't tell you how many family members and friends my parents helped when they got here, or helped them get here to this country, to give them a start in life. So those things, again, made me the person I am today. My mother and father, and the things they instilled in my brother and I, have led me to be the man I am today.
You're a very religious man.
Yes.
Does your faith also inspire you to move forward, even during darker times?
Listen, I start my day every morning, like I mentioned before, 8:30 a.m. Mass. No matter how bad my day is, no matter how difficult it is, I rely on my faith to get me through it. And it's something that I enjoy doing. That's how I start my day. That's how it gets me going. It gets me excited. Unfortunately, my mother passed away last year. I retired from Newark. Thank you. I retired from Newark Police on January 15th, hoping to spend a little more time with my mother. My dad passed away like 13 years ago, and my mother and I, we were talking, and finally I got to my 28th year, and she had been begging me to retire already after 25, but I stayed, again, because I loved my job. I loved doing what I was doing. And unfortunately, 2 weeks later, she passed away from COVID. And so my life kind of changed right there at that moment. And I would go to church every morning while she was in the hospital, to pray for her. Things didn't work out the way we wanted them to work out, but God has a plan for all of us, and I continued to go to church. And that's how I used to go to church just on Sundays. But after my mother got sick, I would go to church every morning to pray for her and light a candle. And she passed away, but I continued to go to church, and here I am today, a year and a half later, and I'm still starting my day off by going to Mass. It inspires me. It gives me strength throughout my day to go through any challenge I may have in this job or any difficulty I may have in my personal life. And I think that, I'm guided by that.
I'm pretty sure she's very proud of you.
Well, I hope so. I hope they both are. So, again, I'm doing their work because my parents, like I said to you, always instilled that if you're in a position to help somebody, to help people, to do that. And that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. You're definitely determined and courageous. You're also a cancer survivor. Where did you also find that strength?
Yeah, so 2014, I was working for Newark Police, obviously, and I got a pain in the morning, and I went to work just like every other Portuguese guy ignores pain because you want to go to work. Take 2 aspirin and everything will be okay. In this case, I took 2 aspirin in the morning, went to work, and everything wasn't all right. So I had this tremendous pain, and Newark Police saw it in my eyes, and they immediately drove me to the hospital where I had 2 friends that worked at 𝐓𝐿, Mass. Had never walked into 𝐓𝐿, Mass. Before. That was my first time, but I knew they were doctors there, so I called them and they took care of me right away. And by 10 o'clock in the morning, 10:30 in the morning, I've been advised that I had lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. And I went through 8 months of chemotherapy. My mother was with me every day. Every treatment that I went through for 8 months, she was there with her rosary, praying the rosary. And my cancer treatments were 8-9 hours long, sometimes 10 on those days. And she stood there. She was the one that was there with me every step of the way. At the end, when you reach the end of your last treatment, you get to ring a bell because it's the final one, and you've reached that, that kind of, it's like that you've reached that goal of getting to your final, because some people don't make it to their final treatment. I made it to my final treatment, and my mother rang the bell. I let her ring the bell because she was my inspiration to get through this. And I'm okay now. Here I am 8 years later. I'm still alive here to tell my story. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't. But I think that cancer is the type of disease that touches everybody, right? We all know somebody who's been through it. We all know somebody, a family member who's passed or a friend who's passed. So it's important. A couple weeks ago, I had my cancer walk, which I had like 500 people attend, which was a great walk. And we're going to give a donation to St. Michael's Medical Center for their cancer unit to hopefully find a cure for this terrible disease. So, yeah, I'm still here to tell my story, so I feel good. I try not to think about it, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think it's something that's affected everybody's life in one shape or another. We all know somebody who's been through it, who has passed or is fighting it.
And it's a completion of a cycle, because St. Michael's was where you were born.
Yep,
right?
St. Michael's Hospital is where I was born. That's now how I came up with my name. I have an older brother that's like 12 years older than me, and my mother and father asked him what they wanted a name, what was the name, and he said Michael. So here I am. Here I am. So it's something that as councilman, it's very near and dear to my heart, cancer. And so I'm always going to push for us to have some type of program here, support for people who are going through this or who've been through it.
Mm-hmm. You're also you're pretty advocate about physical health.
Yep.
You're pretty in shape. You're always pretty in shape. But not only physical, also mental health. And I believe that sometimes in these types of immigrant communities that they come with work. Take a little aspirin, that's it. Or if you're going through some sort of depression, that's because there's muito leave. You're not working enough.
Yep.
But that's not. But depression and mental health is real.
Oh yeah. Hey, listen, it's something that is part of the culture of this country, right? Especially here in New Jersey, New York, this area. All we think about is work. You know what I mean? How much money we make, or how much is in our checking account or bank account, or the car we drive, or the clothes we wear. And eventually, at the end of the day, it takes a toll on everybody. I don't care how young you are, how old you are. I think the rat race world that we live in here in our society is a detriment to our mental health, to our physical health at the end of the day. Speaking of, we spoke about Murtosa, and those people in those countries, they don't look at personal gain or personal wealth like we do here, and they enjoy their lives. And I think we need to get back to the basics to enjoy life a little better. At the end of the day, yeah, it's important to live a comfortable and good life, but our mental health and our physical health, I believe, are more important than in that. Because if you're not around to enjoy it, what's the point of working hard, right?
Right. You're also touched the topic. There are still topics in this community that are still sensitive topics. Cleanliness, garbage, the parking situation in certain streets, and still crime and violence. Right. Where do you see that? But I believe that crime has dropped a little bit. At least I feel that Newark's slightly safer.
Yeah.
Where do you see? Where are you?
Yeah.
We in those.
So you see the major cities in the country. You see them on the news every day. The New Yorks, the Chicagos. They're going through tremendous amount of violence. We don't have that here. Again, we're led by the mayor of the city of Newark. We have a great police director and a police chief, and I believe that our police officers are the best in the country. So crime, again, public safety is always number one. It's the number one issue that I ran on, because if you're not, you could have the cleanest streets you want, you could have the cleanest air, you could have great garbage pickup, you can have street cleaning, that's amazing. But if you're not safe walking out your front door, what's the point? But at the end of the day, we're working hard. Again, the East by far is still the safest community compared to other parts of the city, but we're working on that as a council. Part of our job is to make sure that we provide enough police officers to make sure that our residents feel safe, and also when they call the police, that they get a proper response time. As far as quality of life, which is street cleaning, garbage, those things, it's important that I, as a councilman, have a relationship with the DPW director, Director Smith, which I do, which anytime a resident comes with a concern or complaint, that it's addressed, right? Street cleaning, garbage pickup not being picked up the right way, a lack of respect when garbage cans are being thrown around, not putting all the garbage inside the garbage truck and half of it in the street. That's up to the residents to make sure that I'm notified that this is occurring, so I can make sure that the director of sanitation is notified so he can address that with his personnel.
Mm-hmm. We're getting to the end of our interview. What can this community expect from you, and what would you like to see happening here in the East Ward?
Listen, I ran on the platform a cleaner, a safer, a more united East Ward, and I'm going to stick by those three things. The cleaner part we're working on. I think it's gotten somewhat better. There's still a lot of things to do. The safer part we're working on as well, because we don't have enough police officers. That's the truth. When I came on Newark Police, we had over 1,500 police officers. Today we have 1,000, so we're still short 400 to 500 police officers. And it's the council's job to make sure that we get money, allocate money to make it a safer place. And united, we have to stick together. We all have to be on the same page. Again, we're not going to make everybody happy, but if we can get most of the people in the community, no matter if they're Portuguese, if they're English, if they're German, if they're Italians, Ecuadorians, Brazilians, if we can get them all together, united and fighting for the same things, then I've done my job.
And gathered around you. And how can they get in touch again with your number, your little city hall? Yep. Where can they find you?
So my little city hall is at 274 Adams Street, which is on the corner of Oliver and Adams, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30, and Saturday, 9 to 12. And in City Hall, the telephone number is 973-733-3665, and that's open as well from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., room 304.
Mm-hmm. Social medias?
Social media, my Councilman Michael Silva's page. That's where you'll get most of the information of things that are going on in our community. You'll get to job opportunities, events that are going on for kids, and other things that are just, it's important to be aware of what's going on in our community. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. At least we're aware of things that are happening.
Councilman, I wish you all the best, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Carlos. Anytime.
This was a conversation with Councilman Michael Silva. Don't forget to follow Plusable _PR. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. And if we want change, we also need to participate. So here's information. Little City Hall, Michael Silva and his staff will gladly be there to help all of you. So thank you so much for sticking with us.